Here's the punch, the right, there's that left.
A no running rule. Okay, listen, War Room, if you don't know, I'm all over socials, trying to implement or encourage a no running rule to be added to the official rules of boxing. All right. So this video is to explain that and why. But first, I want to say this. Happy Mother's Day to all of you beautiful mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day to my mother, to Ms. Biz, to my ex-wife, to my sisters, to the mothers in my family, and to the mothers around the world. So happy Mother's Day, first and foremost. Second, congratulations to Kakache for beating Leigh Woods. And thirdly, Navarati squeaked out a victory against Suarez, which Suarez was robbed of the victory. Suarez cut Navarati with a punch, but they said it was a headbutt, and Navarati got the win because they said the cut was due to accidental headbutt, and he won the fight. But we see now, in looking back, it was actually a punch. You can see it in the replay. You can also see it in the still shots. You can actually see blood on Suarez's glove when the moment it impacted Navarati's eye. It was definitely due to that hook from Suarez. I think this can be overturned to a Suarez victory very easily. All right, this is one of those things that's not like the knee from Gervonta Tank Davis saying if you would have ruled that a knockdown, we don't know, things may have actually changed after that as far as how the fight was approached by both Gervonta Tank Davis and Lamont Roach. This here, the fight was stopped, period, due to cuts. They couldn't stop the bleeding. So it was up to the judges or up to the officiating at that point to say why the cut was made, and it was actually due to a punch. So you can overrule that. Hopefully they go back, overrule it, and give Suarez his victory, and they have, of course, their rematch. Now, let's talk about the no running rule, right? Now, I introduced this to my socials, to X, to Instagram, to YouTube here, the War Room. All of you guys, many of you voted. I have thousands of votes across all platforms, most of you in approval of this rule being implemented to the official rules of boxing. Now, here's the rule. The rule is the no running rule. So this is how I describe it. Similar to excessive clinching, that is very key. The no running rule will prevent excessive avoidance of engagement by giving the referee the option to deduct a point from a fighter who chooses excessive movement over engagement. This is the referee's discretion. And I added His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. 66% of you voted that it is a great rule. That's out of 3,764 votes. And views, this got over 200,000 views on this X post. So people are definitely interested. Now, on Instagram, I think we had, over 2,000 votes, and over 80% is in agreement with the rule. And then on YouTube, we have over 3,000 votes there, I think, as well. And over 80%, just like Instagram, is in agreement with the rule. Now, the lowest percentage in agreement is actually on X. I do think that this must be explained a bit more because there's a lot of questions definitely across all platforms of this rule, and I think a lot of people are missing certain things, and maybe we can talk this through in the War Room. First and foremost, why do I want to implement this rule? The reason is last weekend was arguably the worst weekend of boxing, all right, ever. And it's mostly due to the expectations. You have Canelo Alvarez, you have Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. You have some of the biggest names, Teofimo Lopez, all in one weekend. And the weekend ended up being a huge disappointment. And what stands out is the running that William Skull was doing against Canelo Alvarez, and the running from Devin Haney, what he was doing with Ramirez, all right? But it doesn't exclude the other boring fights that happened. Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero was not the best fight, but it still was a shocker because Rolly Romero beat Ryan Garcia by decision. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the fact that you have two of the most historically worst bouts ever on the same weekend. Devin Haney, William Skull, and the way that they performed. Now, it's important to note that the poster child of running and boring was Shakur Stevenson's performance against De Los Santos, where a total of 105 punches were landed in that fight, making that fight a snooze fest. Devin Haney versus Ramirez, a total of 110 punches were landed that fight. That's only 5 punches more than the snooze fest of Shakur Stevenson versus De Los Santos. And Canelo Alvarez versus William Skull, only 1 punch more than the Haney fight, which was 111 total punches landed by Canelo Alvarez and William Skull in their fight. All right, so you have the poster child of boring fights in Shakur Stevenson versus De Los Santos, and similar numbers happened twice in the same weekend, which encouraged me to think of a way for this to not happen again. We definitely don't want fighters to see this way of winning and start training to that because there's no rules in place. Now, let's talk about the rule. I want to say this, side note. Shakur Stevenson, he actually responded on my X post. A lot of people are like, oh my God, Shakur Stevenson, he felt touched by this possible rule. No, I think he's the perfect person to respond to it. Let me tell you what he said. So Shakur Stevenson, he responded and he said, so when Sugar Ray fought Roberto Duran, the second fight, which was the No Mas fight, would this rule have applied to that? All right, so which was a fantastic question. So I responded to that by saying, yes, if this rule was in place, the ref would have had grounds to verbally encourage engagement, just like excessive clinching. There's verbal engagement, then a warning, then hard warning, then possibly a point deduction. Of course, it wouldn't have been an automatic deduction. Understand what I'm saying here. It is very similar to the excessive clinching rule. Now, the clinching rule was put into place because of how boxing was. All right, if you look at the days of Jack Johnson and Joe Gans, Jim Jeffries, all those guys back then, Harry Greb even, those guys would implement clinching as a tactic in the bout, twisting your arms, doing certain things, kind of like wrestling while boxing, all right? And that clinching portion, though, was very boring to the boxing fan. It stopped the boxing match from being all hands to a bit of wrestling, a little bit more wrestling than desired. So the boxing world decided to implement excessive clinching to encourage more punching than wrestling. That's what this is. Now that people are deciding to avoid engagement by not clinching, but by running, it's still the same thing. You're still excessively avoiding engagement, making a snooze fest, stopping from this being more of a boxing match or a fight with fists to more of a track meet, just like it was more of a wrestling match when there was excessive clinching. I'm saying it's the same idea. Instead of just too much clinching, you can do too much running as well, because what we want is a fight. So I think people have to understand excessive. It does not mean what Muhammad Ali was doing. Muhammad Ali was boxing. He was on his toes. He was on his back foot, yes, many times, but he was still flicking the jab and letting his hands go. That's a style, all right? But he was definitely engaging. What Sugar Ray Leonard do mostly is engaging. Hell, what Devin Haney does mostly, he's boxing and engaging. The only time I've seen Devin Haney fight like that was against Jose Ramirez. I think people are trying to act like they don't really know the difference between running and boxing, all right? We're not talking about boxing, we're talking about running, when you're avoiding engagement. Now, what you have to understand is this. This rule that I'm trying to implement here isn't a rule where as soon as somebody runs around, the ref deducts a point. No, but it allows the referee to have grounds to encourage engagement, right? So because this rule in place, the ref can say, hey, mix it up. And tell him again, while he's running around, the crowd is booing, boo! You know what's going on. He's just running. He's not engaging. He say, hey, warning, mix it up. It's just like the clinching, right? When Rolly Romero fought Pitbull, he was excessively clinching, and it was making for a bad bout. The referee's job is to manage a fight. It is to make sure that the fight is appealing to the audience. People don't understand that. They don't know that. But that's what the ref job is. So what the ref do? Warn Rolly for clinching. I think he even deducted a point. And after that, we got an exciting fight, and Pitbull won by knockout versus Rolly Romero. Same thing can happen with the excessive running. You're running too much. Listen, we have to box. We have to engage. Now, there's many people who feel that there's a slippery slope there. It could be, but not really. Because you guys see it with the excessive clinching. We all are like, listen, he should be deducted a point for clinching too much. We see it all the time. And we would know the difference when it's excessive running. We would. Hey, he's running too damn much. All right? The referee would be schooled on this. The referee would be coached on this. The referee would know the difference. If they don't know, which they do know, they would know the difference between boxing and moving and excessive running. When you're running around and you haven't thrown a punch in a while, and if so, it's one flick and you go running and running back and forth again and again. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. William Skull isn't James Toney. What Devin Haney did against Ramirez is not Sugar Ray Leonard or Sugar Ray Robinson. You guys know the difference. And the thing is, this can only help us. It can only help boxing. You do not want a bunch of running in boxing. You just don't. Anyone who's against this rule cannot be against the fact that we're trying to stop what happened last weekend. I think anyone who's against this rule doesn't understand the fact that it is not to deduct people with certain boxing styles and make rock'em sock'em robots. People are thinking too far, and a lot of people get a little too emotional about it and just overthink it, right? It's not that. It's not to stop boxing or boxing styles. It is to stop running or to encourage engagement, just like when it comes to clinching. Now, there are people who are saying, why not just cut the ring off? Once again, when somebody has very fast feet, though, and do not want to engage, they just want to avoid and run, they can't. It is when you're running back and forth, okay, how it was explained to me by two trainers now. When you're running back and forth and you got very quick feet, all you need to do is go flip and then go running again. You just stop somebody and then go running again. That is a horrific sport. That is a shitty sport. But on top of that, what I think people aren't thinking about, they're only thinking about if the runner is dealing with a slugger. What I'm thinking about is the possibility of a runner against another runner. Two William Skulls is what I'm talking about. If you don't implement this, you guys are only thinking about the runner versus the slugger. And I'm thinking about the possible William Skull versus William Skull type of fight, but not with a rule like this. I want to say this in conclusion. Back in the day, when people fought, all right, and I'm talking about anything from Ringadial back, when people fought, they were more willing to be fighters, and they were more willing to be warriors. The way you made ops miss defensively wasn't by running. It was by movement, catching shots, parrying shots, by head movement, by waist movement, yes, footwork, but always in position to be offensive yourself. It was about fighting, the sweet science. It was never running, okay? And that's when boxing is at its best. When somebody is truly boxing and truly being defensively slick. Running is not that. No matter how you try to carve it, running is not that. James Toney is not a runner. Floyd Mayweather is not a runner. Manny Pacquiao, Sugar Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson, Sweet Pea Whitaker, Michael Second to None, James Quick Tillers, those people, and many more. I know you guys want to name a few. You could go ahead and name them in the comments. Those people are not runners. What running is what we've been seeing as of late. It's a brand new thing, and we want to stop the bleeding before it turns into a bloodbath. Let me know how you feel in the comments below. ShowBizz the Dope. I'm out.